Thank God this is not live, man.
Yeah, so we can't be trusted live. Hello and welcome everyone to the very first episode of Talking DAYNE, a podcast that no one asked for. But here I am anyway. Apologies in advance to your speakers or headphones or however it is you may be listening to this. My voice was not developed for a public broadcast or speaking roles. Regardless, I'm your host DAYNE from GamesOfDAYNE, and joining me all the way from Brazil, the CEO and founder of DCF Studios, Andre.
Hello, Dane. Thank you for having me in your first episode of your podcast. It's an honor to start this project with you, and it will be lovely to be part of it.
No, thank you, my friend, for taking time out of your significantly more important schedule to have a chat. I'm taking you away from making games. You're just taking me away from playing them.
Should I call you Games or Dane?
I can be whoever you want me to be.
All right. Okay, Games, let's go.
The team is developing a series of games that are a part of a shared gaming universe that are all connected in some way to a broader mythology, a narrative that spans time and space that has become known as the DCFU. When I first invited you to be guest numero uno on this project, we knew we would talk about the DCFU. But in order to really get across what it is your team is developing, we thought we'd better start right back at the beginning. You've even put an extra effort and adapted a presentation exclusively for this podcast. So without further ado, Andre, tell us about the origins of the DCFU on my maiden voyage into podcasting.
Yeah, well, this idea came across our minds with a small word that was stuck in my head for a period of time. This is another issue. That sentence right there, DCF Studios, wise man once told me that it is a joke taken too far. Like you did, and we stole it for us, so it's now ours. I don't care. So,
that's fine. I'm just going to print your logo on cups and sell them anyway.
Yeah, sue us. I don't care. Just kidding. Don't do that. But it all started because I always wanted to work with something creative, but I didn't actually knew what it was. I did some websites and stuff. They were all animated, and they were more a game than a website. I used to use Flash. I think everybody heard of it. And one thing I did was to mess around with a couple of friends that smoke a lot of herbs. Let's call it that.
Yeah.
To make it
I'm
family friendly.
Yes.
Family friendly mode. And since this game is not yet programmed to be released, we don't have to go too deep into the content. But it all started when I did some comics about them. And then I thought, maybe I can do a game out of this. It was just for fun to play around. I used the game engine way back. I didn't even knew that was a game engine, and even crossed my mind terms like that. It was like 12 or something. And I did a couple of games with Games Factory, made by Click Team. Today it's evolved to Multimedia Fusion 2.5. They're developing the version, and when I search for it, like with 26 years old or something, to make a joke out of these two fellas with their tongues out. Of course, they are humans and not an ogre and a pigeon. But I can't show their photo. That might get me in trouble. But then when I look for it, I saw that you were able to do an Xbox game with it, Xbox 360 back then, and I was like, oh man, I must do this. So it's funny because we take this really seriously. Like here's now 7 or something. I woke at 5, and I've been doing this for the whole year because, well, that's my preference, but to work in the morning. But what I mean is, it's funny that it started with an actual joke, and it did. So it may be a good joke taken too far. Yes, that quote is quite correct. Yeah, these guys are actually in the universe. All of the content is embedded in the universe. We will see further in further slides that I'll tell them which micro universe they are in, and even though there are some rules we created for our content, like the universe content, which is we made like a separate Bible detailing what we will discuss now and detailing creatures and characters and how it began, the gods and etc. The universe itself cannot interfere heavily on the titles, so they have their own unique art style, their own unique story, and their own unique gameplay and game mechanics. So if a person just play one title, it will be fine. The player will understand the story. Nothing will be left like hanging, so the player don't understand. And for hardcore players that want to dig into the content, then you can go into our YouTube channel or website and look for the DCFU content and what were those beings and what they do in the universe, and if they correlate to another game. That also happens a lot, and it will happen because we have two titles to be released, and they have a small little connection, but for we will talk about them in further slides. But it's Tony and Clyde coming to PS4, Switch, and Xbox One, and this is a shooter, more realistic, quote unquote realistic, because it's not.
Yeah.
We have no commitment to reality. We just want to make a fun game. And the other one is Bunny Battle Nemesis. It's a game about mutated bunnies and possessed women that we call maidens, and that sort of born out of a small game that I did prior to Bunny Battle Arena, which is the first version of this game. I did to my niece, and I asked her. It was basically her in the head of Mario Princess's body, and I asked her, "Oh, what do you want for your enemies?" And she said, "Bunnies." And okay, that's it. And then that's how it started. I just practiced it for like I thought it was taking like 2 weeks, and this was just after when I saw that a person were able to do a game from their home and publish on Xbox or a console, and that was the goal right away when I saw it. But of course, that it required practicing to do something I never done in my life professionally. So I did a small game. So it's a niece that I like very much. Her name is Yasmin. Her character is still in the adult version, and the other ones also have. I have 4 nieces, so the other ones have the names of my nieces.
Oh, that's
It's
cool.
kind of a homage. I have 8 women in the family, so it's a homage to them and indirectly to their mothers too. But that's how it started, and then I made this version, and I thought it was take me like a week or so, and it took me, I believe, 6 months. I had no idea what I was doing, and and I found out that doing a game, even a small one, is a monster project, even especially if you're doing it alone. So I'm
Yeah.
so glad that today we have a team, a really engaged team to do all the work with us. So and so that's how the bunny battle born. After I finished her game, I thought, okay, now let me try something to the market, right? And since I had the idea, I went for it. Like it was a possessed prince. Then I made it more Mortal Kombat like, more influenced by things I've played my whole life, and I made it more adult like,
More
from
violent.
nature out, extremely violent. There is so much blood in that game, it's insane. We had a critic about that. The guy said, "Oh, this is one more of those games that are just bloody to make money." And I thought, no, man, I just really like violent games, and that's it. I just made out of passion because I had earned zero $0 from that game. It was just the first start of the company. In the start, I believe that this is for all developers. You don't think much about market and stuff like that. You just want to make a game because it's really fun. The idea to make a game is really fun, but then you find out what it actually is, and I believe most of the people quit because it's insane the amount of effort and work that you have to do to make an actual professional end product. Nice slice of a demo, and it's enough headache that, for instance, we are having now. It's going to be released on. It's coming for consoles, Sony and Clyde, but we're going to test it out a pre-alpha on PC to see if that market embraces the idea, the concept, and we're going to release on August 4th of 2020. We have to say the year. If you're in the future, it's in your past now. So so it's a joke and taken too far, and in many ways. But today we ended up. We started with the Bunny Battle Arena. It was the first version was for iOS, but it wasn't an iOS game because it was extremely hard. It was a game for PC players and console players. So therefore, later on, way after we released it, Cruz Brothers on PlayStation 4, and it was before releasing it on Xbox One. We released the Bunny Battle Arena on Steam. So if you're into a hack and slash with a possessed princess, it's a good way. It's a good game for you. We market it as to control your anger issues problems. The first game was really comic, but this second version, and that's why we are not calling like Bunny Battle 2 or Bunny Battle Reboot or something like that. We are redoing it, so I would say it's the first version of the one that is going to actually be implemented in the universe with all the content. This game we will have a lot of fantasy in it because we will talk about gods and beings. The bunnies that we call the Leporidae now have a meaning to it all. It has a deep meaning, and it's not a kids game anymore, and it's not just a game made out of like a guy that just took the idea and started doing it. It's something well thought that we're taking some time to make it a good story from it, and it will be like a horror hack and slash. So it's a different. I'm not sure if there's too much horror hack and slashes around.
I don't think there's too many at all, but some murderous bunnies is certainly a unique market.
Yeah. We're looking for bunnies to voice over them. I haven't found any.
Yeah, and no bunnies were harmed in the making of Bunny Battle Nemesis, right?
Yeah, no. They're all safe. Yeah.
Good.
Okay, but about the universe, it started with later on when we had already released Cruz Brothers on PS4 in 2018. I think the Mad Max movie came out after that or prior. I don't know, but it's a movie that the newest one is a movie that I watched it like 100 times. I can't even watch it again anymore because I'm so sick of it. And I loved the way Immortan Joe said Valhalla, and you're on your way to Valhalla, and like you're shiny and chrome, you're on your way to Valhalla, something like that. And I wanted to do a game with that line, so that's how idea for a game with copycat post-apocalyptic world began. It's supposed to be a fighting game, and this guy right there, he's a god on the universe. Yes, he resembles Immortan Joe as an homage to that movie. And the first idea was to make something like the world was separated in two, and for some reason they had a contest. It will be a combat game, since we started doing Cruz Brothers. That is just a combat game. We consider it was supposed to be our expertise to do fighting games, right? And the idea was sketch it out, but not clear enough to start building something around it. And I set aside. I think we started to do the Combat School edition for Cruz Brothers. Yes, that was the time. That came out on PS4 and later on Xbox One. So in that period, I traveled to U.S. to California to a friend that lives there, and for some reason, he's just enthusiastic for that type of content. He's for some reason had a dossier. That's how you say in English, dossier
Yes, that's it.
of about stuff that came across those contents. Sumerian mythology that tells. If you look it up in the about it, you'll see that it tells some crazy stuff about humans being developed by gods, and even to this day, we do use Sumerian knowledge for math. For instance, the first language written is attributed to the Sumerian civilization. There's a lot of stuff. I think the wheel came from them. I don't that one I don't recall if it came from them.
If they invented the
But
wheel.
yeah, that's the thing right there. They say they didn't invent it. It was a gift from the gods that made them, and there's a story behind that. And if you look it up, you will see some resemblance of what we are going to discuss about the DCFU. We didn't copy; we based it on it. We also and then when he told me that he has that study, I printed out. I think it has like 50 pages or something. He researched it by his own, and he has stuff like the pyramids of Egypt being created by advanced civilization, not necessarily aliens, but by an advanced civilization that disappeared due to an ice age around 13,000 years ago or something like that. And if you look it up, the dates matches, of course. When we have conspiracy theory, all dates will match, but to the actual ice age we had on Earth. And there is another element of that study that he made. His name is Felipe Faraco, so I have to give him some credits for this one. So he changed the idea for making a game about just a divided world that fought to get in Valhalla towards a huge universe that we created out of this mix of Sumerian mythology and some parapsychological phenomena that I studied for a while in my life. That some odd stuff happened, and we ended up having to look for ufologies too, because we have aliens and etc. We wanted to get some content like not copy from reality because that would be boring, but to have some basis on reality to make it interesting. So I can tell you now that you can look it up, everything that we mentioned here, and you will see there's a, let's call it a conspiracy theory or a theory or a thesis that explains it in our own reality, not only on DCFU.
You're saying the DCFU is largely inspired by like the Sumerian mythology in the Mesopotamian era.
Yes. We didn't uh, copied exactly what happens in their mythology.
You're just using
Because
inspiration from the theories and research.
yes. At the same time, we didn't copy the parapsychological phenomena studies that I did back in earlier back in my past. Uh, we had to change it a bit. I did a course in Coursera about storytelling with Martin Scorsese.
Oh, really?
And that's a tip from
Wow.
him. He says that you make the study, and the study is very, very interesting, very interesting, but you shouldn't take it all and add it to your story, because your story is supposed to be your story and not the research based, fully based story. So you take what's good there, and you make your own and unique story. So it was a tip from the master. So
Well, if it's coming from Scorsese, you listen.
yeah. So we follow it. But makes sense, right? Not everything fits. Like, we wanted to use the main enemy from the content that comes from the Sumerian mythology is named Kal Ra. So there's no Kal Ra in their in their mythology. There is Enki and Enlil, who are two gods in the Sumerian culture, and Enki was the one who made the humans for a reason that we will address, but we will address it as in the DCFU version. But if you look for it, you can look for Sumerian mythology, Enki and Enlil, and you will have the whole theory. It's really cool, actually. Oh, one interesting thing. This theory ends up in aliens, of course, not gods, but aliens making the humans. And one thing I am afraid of, I'm like 33 years old, but if I watch an alien movie, I won't sleep for 2 days. And I did those researches, and in the day that I watched a good video that I found on the YouTube about it, I couldn't sleep, man. I was thinking about, oh shit, this is real. They're gonna get me now.
They're gonna take you and
Especially
probe
that
you.
Yes, yes, no, and like even though because we are writing about it, we now may be a target from them. So yeah, I haven't slept for that night, scared of conspiracy theory about aliens. Yes, and then we are now making games about aliens. My fear is getting less. I'm getting less afraid of them, but I won't risk watching any movie about it. So.
No more Prometheus then.
Yeah, well, Prometheus is one of the movies that doesn't talk much about the Sumerian culture, but that huge fella, the white with the white skin,
Yeah.
that creates the humans in the beginning of the movie and is asleep in their ship. That's what the humans call it back then, the Anunnaki, the gods that made the humans. That's fully based on the Sumerian culture, the Sumerian mythology. But they didn't address it that deep. But since I had looked for it, and people who had looked for it probably will get that these are the Anunnakis, because they say that the Anunnakis, who were the gods who made men, were 3 feet tall, and that's why we have such a huge buildings from ancient times with huge doors and etc. Because they were made for those guys, with those gods with 3 meters tall and a huge size.
So that's why you're
yeah,
saying things like the pyramids or any other kind of ancient monument has the doors that are 4 or 5 meters high. So these things can get in and out, with clearance.
Yes, and usually when I mention Valhalla being in our content, people say, "Oh, it's from the Vikings, right down there," and I think no, it's not, because the universe was born way before all of us. So we can take a good element of any culture and include in the universe. So we use Egyptians, like the pyramids, constructions, locations. And we use the Valhalla. It's the heaven on, let's call it heaven, but it's a heaven on DCFU and etc. So we can merge some stuff to create a really unique and creative content. Probably some people will misunderstood, but it's fine. This will happen anyway. So.
You mean misunderstood as in thinking that Valhalla relates to Thor and Odin and Loki, for instance, as opposed to your own interpretation of what Valhalla is?
Yes, or even thinking it's a bad idea because you're mixing Egyptians with the Vikings. This is incorrect.
Yeah.
The dinosaurs wasn't born yet, and yeah.
Is that a spoiler? Is that a spoiler for dinosaurs in Tony and Clyde?
There's no dinosaurs, but we may throw a raptor in it because it's really cool. Tall grasses and raptors. Yes, expect that in the future.
Excellent.
And seasoning all of that content with the words stuck in the head, there is the small group of creative mites. That's how you say it.
That's how you say it. Yes, you got it.
Yeah, and we have to give credit to everyone, because this was created by a team and not by a person. So it's DCF Studios is like the Batman. Anyone can be the Batman. It's a symbol. So all of our content is created by DCF Studios, and there's no one signing it. Let's call it that. And I added this just a resumed version of what everyone does, because we do much more than what's written there. Everybody tests the games and etc. So, but just to make it organized, the whole team is myself and Amorim, Glauco Bellini, who's the main developer for Tony and Clyde at the moment, and my associate in all titles. Her wife, Isadora Hata, who is the art director and level designer for all games. So she's starting to go nuts. Last night, Glauco told me she crossed it to the other side. She's ready now. She was going nuts in something like really silly, and
with Tony and Clyde.
Yeah, she's now on Tony and Clyde, but we will focus on Tony and Clyde. But she already did some stages for Bunny Battle.
Yeah.
But since we are writing the story, actually Matt Ladas, who is our main illustrator, made the mistake to tell us once that he loved it to be an RPG master. That's how you call it, right? RPG master. And
yes.
he created his own stories and worlds, and played it with his friends. And I thought, oh, wait a minute, man. You are creating stories out of your head, so maybe we can add something extra to what you're doing, especially that he's the one that will be the responsible for the stories cutscenes. It's way better that he's deeply involved in the writing, because we will cut a bridge between explaining what is written to the illustrator, because he's the one who wrote it, right? We are writing together, but he's now on he's mainly responsible for Bunny Battle script, and up to this moment, I'm the main responsible for Tony and Clyde script. But as I said, we cannot no one can sign the script, because we changed the story like 5 times. Doing we do some dev camps, like we take a week and go to my house and stay. Me, Glauco, and Isa, usually we do that. We did that prior to the issues we're having now with the COVID situation.
Yes, you won't be doing many camps now, I imagine.
No. But I think in the 5th camp or something, we started to draw a procedure. When we first started, in the first day, we sit down and discusses all the content, and we had a bunch of ideas. All of them we usually used. And in the end of the camp, like 5 days later, we look at the content we created and do the polishing. So, but we did that like 5 times after for Tony and Clyde, right? And also for Bunny. For Bunny, one funny thing happened, because Matt made the bosses, and one of the bosses he made out of made dirty with blood in his mouth and etc. in his hands. So he's told us, like, well, this guy should eat the player after he kills him, and we go, oh, cool, right? And Andre Lazar is our illustrator, also our illustrator and animator. He's taking care of those guys now, and he's making the gore slots and the gore art for the bosses and for the players. And he made one of the fat Leporidae, the bunny. He made her his stomach to be out, like show his guts out, rip it open, and with a human dead body inside. And we thought, oh, okay, this is interesting. And we separated the bunnies into 2 clans, and one of them will be eating humans. And now we had to give some reasons for the humans to be there, and they are not actually yet humans. They are the beings created by the Syrians, who are the aliens who help the gods to create life in the universe. We will see them in further slides. So by a drawing of a guy with a bloody mouth, we changed the whole story, so you can see how collaborative we are in terms of creating content. Everybody criticizes each other's work, and we have a posture to be honest to each other, because if we don't do this, you guys are going to do when we release the game. If it's shitty, it's a shitty content, you're gonna say, "Oh fuck, this is
Yeah.
shitty."
So you want to
And I can't. Can I? Sorry, can I swear in your podcast?
absolutely,
James, can
of
I
course
swear?
you can. Of
All
course
right.
you can.
Okay. So we are trying to provide the best products or the best games. Let's call it games. But we are trying to provide the best games and content we are able to with the small team we have. And the last fella in this slide is Luis Francois. He just joined us like a month ago. But this is a funny story. I think I mentioned it to you before. Because I talk a lot with games or Dane behind the cameras, so
We do.
people is aware of that. Yeah,
Yes.
we talk some nasty stuff, right?
Dirty, nasty, yes.
Hmm. And I kind of like it, but okay. Getting back to topic here, Luis reached me out when like 2 years ago when he was graduating from college. He did studied game developing, and he was extremely frustrated because his final project, actually his whole class final project, was a game, Lord of Chaos, the name of the game they made. I don't know, I'm not sure if they actually made it, and that's why he was so frustrated, because he wanted so badly to do the game, and I felt like I saw the fire in him right at that moment, and I advised him to like, okay, maybe this project is just your, because he reached out to for us to publish, and he was reaching out to publishers or local developers. He lives in the same city as us, and he reached out for that, and I advised him to like, man, as the things that you're saying, I lived it a bit, and he was living like fully, because it was young kids, college kids, who just wanted to have party time and finish the damn college, right? But he actually wanted to do the damn game. So back then we couldn't grow the team yet, but this year we were able to grow the company a bit. So I was scouting out people to work with us, and I remember Luis. That was the guy that in my mind wanted deeply to work with games, and he's been around for a month, and he certainly want to work with the games a lot. So we were talking, and he said he were working on a different place, a completely different company, but he was doing some stuff, and he did an app and etc. And I said, "What? You did an app?" And he said, "Yeah, I did. I was actually building the app with a friend of mine, but my friend quit. No news there. My friend quit, and I had to finish the thing alone." And I said, "Okay, can you show it to me?" And he's shown to me. It was like in version 1.8, so that says he built it 8 times at least. And I said, "All right, bro, just torch the place you're working out, set that shit on fire. You don't belong there. Come do games. Finally, come do games with us." And he like in 2 weeks he quit and came working with us, but he didn't set the place on fire. So just
That's
don't
probably a
worry,
good thing.
don't worry, guys. This was a joke. So what I meant is like, man, you're being, you can do much better in the gaming industry. You did this by yourself, like the app he done. So you
Yeah.
should come work. At least you can start here, and maybe if you find somewhere else. But we want to keep him around. He's a good little lad. He just he from the day one he's very engaged. So it brought some inspiring to the team. Yeah, it's rare. It's rare in all ages. It's rare because you need to have a huge amount of, I would say, I don't like to say passion anymore because everybody uses that word, but maybe you need to have some hatred inside of you to do this
Yeah, sure.
because you have to be like boosted up to finish it, because it's a lot of work, man. It's a lot of work. Imagine that you given. Imagine that it is like a movie that you give your audience fully control and liberty to walk around and stuff.
Yeah.
So, just a stupid example, but it works. The character is supposed to go to the table and get the cup, but the player wants to walk around, and then he finds a wall that doesn't have a collider, and he falls into the endless infinity of the world of that realm. So it's a gigantic project. Most of the people, at least here, don't understand how complex it is to develop games. That's why you need the passion and the hatred inside of you to make it work. It's like Xavier told Magneto in that X-Men movie. Too much love is bad. Too much hate is bad. Find it in between, and then you're good to go. You remember? Did you watch this movie? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I am familiar with it. Yes.
Yeah, I think he lifted like a ship or something that, or a
Yeah.
underwater.
It was a large warship or something.
Yeah, and yeah, it's quite correct because it means you have balance, right? You have balance in your emotions. You're good to go, but you're also not too over the anger or something like that.
Something
And
like that.
yeah, it makes sense, I guess, for everything in life, maybe that you have to put some effort in it.
Yes, balance. Balance is certainly key, which is a key word as well for the DCFU.
Yeah, it is. Yes. Okay, so talking about the DCFU now, this is our god Orochi. The name came from a Japanese god. I don't recall it, uh, what kind of god he is, but we just thought the name was cool. And he was responsible for the Big Bang. The thing is that in the universe, there are two main things: consciousness and energy. So in this stage, there is a representation of that. The pinkish circle is the consciousness of Orochi, and everything inside is the energy, all concentrated in a unique point, same as the Big Bang theory. And since Orochi has becoming the All Father, he has a past that will be revealed now. Prior to the Big Bang, Orochi is a unique being made of unified consciousness, and with all the matter and energy of the universe embedded in him. And because he's all the consciousness and all the matter and everything in the universe, he's both what we were speaking about, both pure hate and pure love. And since he has a past that I won't mention now because it's not yet finished, uh, and that past explain how he becomes that unique focused point in the universe. But since he is all at once, he decides to recreate. That's a spoiler. Recreate. It's already a spoiler. So he recreates for what he has destroyed. A huge spoiler now. But and then he breaks his own consciousness out of love or out of remorse of what he has done, and he creates the universe, and he breaks himself immediately in two other beings. They are the creators or gods, and after the universe is created, he also gives birth to three other children. So this is what happens after Orochi exploded himself through the Big Bang. He creates all reality that is. He still remains the one true God, but he immediately gives birth to two other children who are Hell Ella, the ruler of Hell. This chart is a little complex, but as I will explain, it will make sense. The two children of Orochi are Hell Ella and Alus Mabus. Actually, they are called Ella Orochi-san and Mabus Orochi-san. And Alus Mabus hate is pure hate, is made of pure hate. He's the complete opposite of Orochi. So he decides to change his last name to Alus Mabus. I think it's the name of a demon of some culture, and he's the ruler of the inverted Valhalla, right in the right side of the spectrum. We call this the spectrum of existence, and you can see that the left side has a bluish background, which is made out of the Shiki energy, which is the positive energy, and you have a green background that's made of dark Shiki energy, so it are made from bad thoughts and bad feelings. And we can think this slide and this image as an onion. So the consciousness live in the Oroshi's realm that you see in pinky, that in the pink circle, and they use the energy still to interact with the realms created. The creator's realm, the top side of the main, the inside circle, we can call it the realm of the dead or the souls. And the material realms are self-explain itself by the name, but are the many micro universes created by the Big Bang. So, for instance, we both will be on the alpha one, in the left side of the spectrum. Then you get the beta, kappa, omicron, and omega. And as you go to the side of the dark Ishiki energy, even in the material realm, you get darker and darker. So let's say if we make a horror game, purely horror and really nasty, it will be more towards the omega and the omicron micro universe. Cruz Brothers, for instance, it's on alpha. Tony Clyde is also on alpha, and When in Battle Nemesis is on kappa because it does have a direct link to Allah's Hell. So talking about the realm of the dead, or the creator's realm, we have the left side, same thing. It's positive, and the right side is negative, and they are both ruled by Valhalla and a dark Valhalla or inverted Valhalla. And the balance of the universe is in charge of Ella Roshisan, or Hell Ella, who has her own circle of existence. To detail more these two sides, we will use that book created by Dante Alighieri about describing the circles of hell. Do you remember the name of that book?
That's Dante's Inferno.
Dante's Inferno, yes. So the left side, the blue side, will have many circles, and the right side will have the many circles. And there is one circle in the middle, which is Ella's Hell, who does the balance between the two sides. So her job is to she's the goddess of death, but when a being dies in the universe, he goes straight to where he's supposed to be, unless Hell Ella picks him up. So she picks them up to make Hell always balance the both sides of the spectrum, which we call Agavi and Baratosphere. Baratosphere will be our Catholic hell, let's say that, and Agavi will be heaven, and the heavens of heaven will be living in Valhalla, like Immortal Joe says. And Ella's hell is like the purgatory, let's call it that. You won't be stuck in there forever. Eventually, a person or a being that goes to Ella's hell eventually get loose to the side of he or she's supposed to be. So it's a quite complex slide, but these are the main informations. The core element here is that consciousness exists, and Orochi blown up and give birth to all of them, and through the energy realm they interact with the other realms. Yeah, you can see these three, just actually four bodies, we can say, but the first one in the left is a brain. That's just symbolic. That's the consciousness, and all of the other bodies are controlled by the consciousness. So in the creator's realm, you can see right in the down arrows pointed up that the soul, or we call it psychosoma, that we base that on the parapsychological studies. The soul lives in the creator's realm, exists in the creator's realm, And if you die in the material realm, there is the body on the right. You go to the creator's realm, either to Agave or to the Baratosphere. If you are honorable enough, you go to the Valhalla. You get inside the gates of Valhalla. And if you're a complete motherfucker, you can beat me on that one.
Definitely
You
not
go straight to
the
Dark
Dark
Valhalla,
Valhalla.
and you will suffer a bunch. And if Ella needs you to go to hell, she will pick you up. And if the spectrum is unbalanced, she starts picking up the opposite to make it balance it again.
So Ella acts similar to, say, Anubis. How Anubis weighs the hearts of those to decide whether they went through to the afterlife or not. Ella has that kind of control.
Oh, I never heard about that. About
Oh,
that story of Anubis. We have Anubis in the game in a future title, but
Anubis would put
yeah.
the heart on a scale, and depending
Oh, I
which
see.
way the scale tipped, they would either move on to the afterlife or they would go down to the
Oh,
underworld.
that's interesting. Well, that's not exactly it.
No, it's a bit different, isn't it?
It's a bit different. Yes, you go automatically by attraction. Like,
Yeah.
let's say that you're killed in the material body, so you immediately snap and appear in the afterlife where you're supposed to be. You are attracted to one of the circles. That's why I mentioned it. That will be describing each side of that spectrum in
Yeah.
circles, and you can apply this towards a really good and honorable warrior that goes to Valhalla, and a really bad person that goes to Dark Valhalla. But Hell is different because she wants to balance the universe. So if, let's say, if there are too many souls going to side of the spectrum, she has to balance it out, picking randomly, like Thanos killed randomly in the movie.
Yeah.
She picks them randomly, and actually, this is the reason why she created the Leopardai. She's responsible for the creation of those bunnies, because since this species has a high reproduction rate, she uses them to ease her work. This is her excuse to make them, but she actually wanted to be loved and worshipped as her brothers are. Since she's a goddess of death, not so many people like
No.
her, and they're afraid to end up in hell. So, but getting back to what I was explaining about the consciousness acting, acting and interacting with the bodies. When you are in the material body, you need an energy body to make the, let's say, the connection with your soul uh, well bonded. You are in the material body. All the other bodies exists as a rule. There are some exceptions, but that is why Cruz Brothers can throw energy blasts, because they use their energy body to interact with the Ishiki energy, and they mentally they create a energy blast or they power or any other power that goes to all the characters. But since they are in a modern age, not everyone has that skill. So it's a special skill for people that practices, and they don't mention that in the story. That was a bit of a mistake of ours. But we added the DCFU cards to explain a little bit more for the player to make sense of why a boxing game has energy blasts. Why? In the beginning it was fun, but then we went too far on this, creating the universe and all, and wanted to include the Cruz Brothers in it. So we had to explain somehow without changing the story. And the reason they don't mention it in the story, I think that appears only once when Azazel is fighting Felipe, and his arm to flames starts to burn behind him. That's him igniting his power, but nobody mentions it because it's like part of their daily life. Like, people have that ability, and they utilize to fight, right? So this is something we want to improve, for instance, in the store, to explain for the player prior to get the game that this is a boxing based game, but it has more into it. So here's the deal, and then we will do we will update the synopsis so when people buy the game, they are aware that it's not just a boxing game; it's more than that. So it's embedded in that context right there. So that's the thing. The consciousness interacts with the bodies, but as deep as dense you get, like the material body is extremely dense, it's matter. As dense you get, you lose your connection with the creator's realm, which will be your soul, right? And you to have that interaction, the beings have an energy body. So when they die to be healthy, they lose their energy body, and the energy body comes back to the universe just as a ishiki energy, and they are only left with the psychosomal soul. And in the creator's realm, it's way easier to interact with the energy. You actually just have to think, and things will appear. So if we make a title that happens in that realm, it will be something really, really crazy because we can do something. I can't even imagine what we can do because
Yeah.
they haven't planned any game in that realm yet.
But it doesn't have to
But
be as grounded in reality as Cruz Brothers or Tony and Clyde. Is what you mean?
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. It's and one of the ways we are presenting this for the players, as I mentioned it, for instance, this chart, this slide, and the other one won't be even mentioned in Tony and Clyde. The same but in that case, they don't have powers or anything. They're
Yeah.
just normal humans who are struggling with the mafia and thugs. But but they are still embedded in the universe themselves. Clyde's sister is a maiden, Ella's maiden. There's a reason for that. I won't give any spoiler. That by itself is an spoiler, but that's okay.
Yeah.
And then you see how we connect all the games, right? For example, the contest that the Cruz brothers fight is called the Pride Fists. It was born in the when the gods started the universe, and they played against each other to see which god was the best. And then that kind of moved on to which of them made the strongest being in the universe. So they have like they cannot interact directly in the material realms, so they just influence people or beings. I cannot say people because there are multiple types of beings, and they can induce them to do their beatings, but they cannot force them.
They can't physically interfere.
Yeah, sort of like
Yeah.
that. Just in really, really extreme cases, they can, but
Yeah.
they will actually. But the rule is they shouldn't. Oroshi's rule is that they shouldn't. So then, when Pride Fists cross over to the material realms, they had each of them had their own champion to fight in the Pride Fists. And as the years go by, we get the advanced civilization where the Cruz brothers are in, and the Pride Feast becomes something like embedded in society and extremely commercial. They are fighting a version of a boxing a boxing version of the Pride Feast, but still there are gods looking, and each of them have their own champion. We didn't mention this, but will appear in future titles.
So that's exciting for starters. But what you're saying about these slides is to avoid throwing all of this at a casual player, you're only going to introduce bits of the mythology that are relevant to that game.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
In Cruz Brothers, we added, for instance, the beginning of the universe
Yeah.
up to the point the Homo sapiens were created. I believe you played it, so you
Yes.
are aware.
I'm very aware.
So yeah, we won't just vomit this out inside the games and take a look at this complex stuff, because I'm having trouble to explain it to you right now.
Yeah, because you're trying to explain so much.
Yeah, it's something difficult to understand, and it does have more images to it. But to make this simpler, I just throw this one so we can discuss about it, how a consciousness interacts, and what exactly does it mean, those realms that appeared in the other slide. And these are these are the creators. So we call our gods creators, but they are the gods or Orochi sons. The right one with the green energy is Alus Mabus. We can say he's like our demon, our Lucifer. Let's call it that, our version of Lucifer. And in the left side is Helella. They were both born immediately when the Big Bang happened and the unified Orochi consciousness broken. But then later on, Orochi gave birth to the ones in the middle. From left to right, there is Mahina, Oroshi's son, who is the goddess or creator of vitality and love, and Ezekiel Oroshi's son, who is the creator of war, and Loki Oroshi's son, who is the creator of pleasure. Let's say that one came from the Viking mythology of Loki being the god of trickery, right?
Yes,
And
God
that's
of
why
Mischief.
mischief. Yeah, he holds a beer and has a cigar, and he will be like a Wolverine inspired character. You can see he's shorter than
Yeah,
Ezekiel, for instance. And the other two are I set it as like huge fellas, but just to point out they're kind of more relevant to the whole balance of the universe thing. But all of them are responsible for the whole universe, creating beings and keeping things on track
maintaining
on the
balance.
maintaining balance. In the end, that's it. Yeah. The first idea to create a Pride Fist would be that Ezekiel and Loki challenged themselves to fight to the death, becoming a mortal being. So they will be like, there is we call it restoration, but when you, like in Buddhism or Spiritism, that you're born again. How do you say that in English?
Yeah, born again, resurrected.
Uh, not resurrected, because that's
Oh
bringing
wait,
a
that's
dead body to
that's
life.
dead and coming back. Yeah, no, born again, I think is the right
Yeah,
term.
you're born again. We call this restoration. So they will restore in a specific being. Let's say in the human being, and they will fight to the death with that being's limitations. Because when they fight as gods, they are gods, and they cannot be killed, right? And the first idea to the Pride Fist begins origins would be that, but we changed it a bit so that occurred in the creator's realm, so we have more freedom. The idea is to make a Pride Fist Origins game with the gods fighting themselves first, so we have a lot of
Creative
fantasy in it. And
freedom.
yeah, you can do a like sort of fatality, and the guy won't die because he's a god. He will just lose his
Yeah, he'll
head,
just get back up.
and yeah, like Deadpool, he'll plug back in, and
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah.
Lost the fight, right? So, but that was the first idea, and the reason he's in the middle, it's more of you can see that in his posture. He does have a posture of a leader, right?
He
You
does.
can you
Yes.
can see the way you can see the way he looks at us, and that he's not. Those gods, they're not very happy. They're kind of, they're good. Some of them are good, right? Alus Mabus is not. Hellella is, let's say, neutral, but they're not fully good, because we need them to fight each other and need them to embrace warriors, and warriors kill other beings. So okay, Orochi itself is not pure benevolent god. He's also bad. So
Because he has to be both good and bad because he is everything at the same time.
yes, no, actually, in this stage of the universe where everything exists,
Yes.
he's not everything at the same time. But the collective consciousness was broken, and then Orochi has a chunk of it, big chunk of it, that goes from the left side to a small portion on the right side, which is the bad side.
Yeah.
And we are right in the middle of that. So we are Oroshi's replicate parts of. We are part of Oroshi's consciousness. but the creators have their own. Let's say that would be accurate.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's too complex or making sense, but
it makes sense.
we are addressing the complex part first. So
Yes,
bear with
getting it out of the way.
us.
These Enki and Enlil, you mentioned them at the start.
Yes, they are from the Sumerian culture. They are the gods who created the humans. Uh, what the story tells is that the Sumerian story, roughly speaking, tells that they came to Earth with another being to mine gold, and gold purified their planet, home planet atmosphere. And but these guys that are called Gigi, and they appear in our universe, uh, rebelled against the Syrians, and they were exterminated because they couldn't have been in a new home that was rebelled. So then that's why they had to create a human being to do the heavy lifting of mining gold and stones. But in the Sumerian story, Enki loved the humans, and Enlil think them as a threat. I don't recall it exactly how it happens, but and that's the thing. I think Enlil in the Sumerian story would be like our Lucifer or something like that. We have to double check that. But in our case, what happens to the Syrians? Syrians came from ufology studies. We were looking for a name for these beings, uh, more than Anunnakis, because Anunnakis is how the humans call them. They're like from beings from heaven to earth. Is something like that. The meaning of Anunnakis, and they are the great Anunnakis for the human beings. Actually, it's not the human beings. It's a species a little bit prior to us that we call the Adamas. Yes, it resembles Adam, but this is from the Sumerian mythology, and it makes sense. So their structure is based on a hierarchy of who has more power. Enlil will be a supreme leader, and they have a below ranking masters that are Enki, Kaura, Genesis, Elohim, and Deodat. Deodat is an homage to the discovered of the Dolomite, who is a stone. This actually exists. This is a stone that conducts electricity and do all sort of things. And lately, I saw that they think the pyramids has dolomite in it, and it was used. They were used to generate power in the Egyptian society. So it's another cool topic to look around.
Use the
But in the
dolomite to create electricity through the pyramids.
yes, something like that. You have to look it up. But in our universe, what the Dolomites does, they are powerful stones. They are like artifacts in a RPG game or something like that.
Yeah.
And they use for both technology. You see some stones in their armors, and in Enki, the guy in the left, sword, shining some power. So they use them for technology, and they use for binding with them. And when they bind with Dolomite, they gain a massive amount of power, and that depends of how the Dolomite is forged. The Dolomite is forged from gold and from minerals, and only a superior Syrian is allowed to create them. So, like in a Syrian society, only these two guys, for example, will be allowed to create them, because there is a catch. When a Syrian binds with the Dolomite, he uses the Dolomite to have access to his energy body that we saw earlier, right?
Yeah.
So since the Syrians were the first intelligent beings in the universe, and they helped the creators to populate the whole universe. But at the same time, they are conquerors, because Dolomites basically give them immortal life, and so they spend their lifetime searching for more Dolomites and more resources, more places for a Dolomite to be a Dolomite resource. And in ufology, there's a conspiracy about the planet called Nibiru. I don't know if you heard about this one.
I've heard of it.
yeah, that comes around the Earth around 3,600 years. Each 3,160 years, it gets closer to the Earth, and it's called the Destroyer because when it gets closer to the Earth, all the catastrophes happens, like volcanoes explode, and we have a melt of our ice caps, and that's kind of linked to that what I mentioned in the beginning of having the last ice age around 3,000 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's where our story with the Syrians begins, and they are the ones who created us in the DCFU. They were in a war trying to conquer Nibiru, and Nibiru does have the Ijiji, who are the most intelligent being living there. And they were in war for too long, and they were getting closer to Earth. And the Syrian masters felt that Earth had a huge amount of minerals and gold to be mined and be forged as dolomites, and they could use that resource to win the war. So a group of Syrians came to Earth to populate the Earth with some Ijiji slaves. That's based on the Sumerian part of the mythology. And the Ijiji slaves eventually rebelled themselves, and the Syrians had to kill them because they couldn't bear same thing. They couldn't bear to have a rebelled being in a new world. They were trying to conquer. So Anubis, now the Anubis guy gets in because Enlil didn't came to Earth. He stayed in the Nibiru War. Who came to Earth were the Anubis, Enki, Kaura, Deodat, Elohim, and Genesis. And Deodat and Elohim, no, Genesis and Elohim are the main geneticists from the Syrian society, and Anubis required them to create a new type of being that was docile but strong enough to do the labor. So they run some experiments with the beings around at that time. So we have a lot of uh, characters that we won't see here, but like a lizard man that we call Lagarto, and
Lizard man.
there is a rhinoceros that call him I forgot his name, but he's so cool. But that's for further titles, so I'm holding it back. And eventually, they found the Tomice. Tomice is from actually a being in our actual past, and it's one of the closest link from the, like they call it, the missing link between men and apes, right? And this is about the human history. There's a documentary in Curiosity Stream called "The First Man." It's fucking amazing, really amazing. Sorry, games. Pardon me for cursing so much.
Please carry on. Continue.
Okay, so it's a really incredible documentary. I advise everyone to look into this. They are curious about this, to look into it. And the by the time the Syrians came to Earth, there were only Tomice. So from the Tomice they made the gorilla, the experiments, and etc. And they ended up with the Adamus, who not by chance is the name is close to Adam and Eve, right? It's the story of Adam and Eve, and they had a location. They landed in the late Mesopotamia, and they had a location nearby that is the Garden of Eden, where they breed the Adamus with their female counterpart called Adapa, and that's this part of the story that's both in
Our own history.
our own history of the DCFU and in the Sumerian mythology, that why they were expelled from the Garden of Eden. It was due to the fact that there were too many of them, so they had to let them go. Right? There were a lot of Adamas and Adapas there breeding and etc. And in the Sumerian mythology, Enki teaches them a lot of stuff about the Syrian. That in their case is not the Syrian, but it's the gods' knowledge, and that's where the math come from, agriculture, written language, and etc. Because Enki loved them so much that he taught them a lot of stuff. And in the DCFU, Enki does this. He Elohim and Genesis were responsible for creating them genetically, but Enki was supervising the whole project, and eventually they had to relocate them to other parts of the world, and that's when you get in Chile and in Mexico those constructions, because were sites in the DCFU, of course, were sites of Adamus spelled from the Garden of Eden. And basically, what happened was that Kaura, for a reason that I won't explain because this will be a major spoiler, started to breed with other Adamus, and other Syrians started to do that too, and we came across we ended up with a hybrid being between Adamus and the Syrians, and that being, in the end of the day, became the Homo sapiens. In the evolving process, he became the Homo sapiens, and we are more powerful than the Syrians in the terms of being able to connect with the Ishiki energy, because we don't have to bind with Dolomites to interact with that realm. And what happens when the Syrians bind with the Dolomite, you will see a little bit different from the other slide with the bodies in it. The difference between Homo sapiens and the Syrians, and that is not limited to those two beings, but the Syrians have to bind to the Dolomite stone that you see right in the right corner, the Dolomite stone. Then binding happens with the material body, so they can access the energy, Ishiki energy, gaining an energy body. So a Syrian that doesn't bind with the Dolomites doesn't have an energy body, so he cannot interact with the energy realm. So he doesn't have like superpowers and stuff.
So that stone is critical for that.
It's critical for that. That's why they crave for it. They search the whole universe for it, and that makes them almost immortal. And a good Syrian, and now this is so Viking, a good Syrian should die at war and get his way to the gate through the gates of Valhalla. Okay, so that's you can see how we get to this point, right?
Yeah.
But we had to make them disappear because we don't have Syrians in Cruz Brothers, and we don't want them in our games that should occur in our current age, right? So they were destroyed by a reason that I won't say. Actually, they were destroyed on Earth at least, by a reason that I won't say because this will be a major spoiler. But the ones who were left after the thing that happens, that kills some of them, were overthrown by the hybrids and the humans, because we were able to connect with our energy body without the need of binding with a Dolomite stone. We could bind with them to have like an extra power, but we don't necessarily need to do that because we already have an energy body. And when the Syrian does bind with a Dolomite stone, he does get his energy body, and you see that there are some dots there that are the chakras, and they are the chakras from all religions that mention chakras. They are the same. And you can see that there's another little brain, yellow one, that is a primitive consciousness. So it's like there is the Syrian consciousness binded with the Dolomite to gain the power, but he gains a primitive consciousness from this deal that keeps bothering him, because that primitive consciousness wants to be free and become her own, restoring the world and enter her own path of the procedure to enter the gates of Valhalla, which is the goal of every being on Earth, on existence, is to live in Valhalla beside the gods. And that there is where they get limited to, because there's so much amount of power a Syrian can buy with the Dolomite stone. As more powerful the binding gets, or if they get more powerful stones, the primitive consciousness gets to influence him more. So those who go beyond their own skill to endure this go mentally crazy and do bad things. And that's how they rank the Syrians. Those who can endure more Dolomite power, let's call it that, and endure the primitive consciousness or control it and make it quieter, are able to becomes their leader. And those who are in the lowest ranks, some of them can't even do the binding because they will go immediately crazy. So that's how they rank their society, and that's why Homo sapiens and the hybrids are more powerful, and were able to destroy all Syrians in Earth.
That's a little bit to think about. So
Oh, but that
human willpower, is that what you're saying? For their access to that without the need for a stone, without the need to bind
yes,
with the stone, right?
yes, to access. Yeah, that's why you don't see any character in Cruz Brothers wearing a stone or having a stone glued to their
Because
body.
they've tapped into it themselves.
They just have to train themselves to interact with the energy body and the Shiki energy,
To
and they will
harness it.
gain access. They will gain access to the. It's a hard thing to do. So, for instance, in Tony Clyde, you won't see anybody that can do that. Everybody uses a gun to fight each other.
Yeah. Yeah,
Since it's a
simpler
shooter.
times.
But they all have material bodies, energy body, and a soul. So
they're
and
all bound by the realms.
All bound by the realms. Yes.
Yeah.
And the consciousness that has no body at all controls it all, like a puppet, like a puppet master controlling each body. Yeah.
That's quite the download on my consciousness. But it's very deep. It's insane. It's crazy layered.
Yeah, probably it will be for your audience too, but I hope people and if anyone have a question about what we are talking about, I'll be happy to reply in the comments. So leave a comment with your question, and we will try to make it more clear if it got too complex.
And I'll even drop in your personal email if people want to spam that with with questions and pictures.
Yeah, definitely. That would be great.
Yeah.
Tell the whole world my email. That's good.
Yeah, you'll enjoy that.
Yeah. I get enough spam emails already, man. Well, I actually don't mind. I love to reply to people that are interested in the content and want to know more.
Yeah.
It's really awesome. That is why I'm happy to be here and discuss this today, even that it's hard to explain, especially in a foreign language. But you can imagine that it's hard for me to explain. So I am sure that it's hard to understand.
I think it would be a nightmare to try and explain because it's so much in such a short period of time.
Yeah, I could have gave you this shorter version, but as we spoke prior to this, we were supposed to go full throttle on the content, right?
That's right.
Show it all. Yeah. So
the whole peel back the whole curtain.
Yeah. So these are the arts for one of the Ijiji in the left and the Adamos in the right. And these are being not the Ijiji, the Adamos that have been spoken for the last couple of minutes. Is our ancestor. Let's call it that gave birth to our existence. And if you go to the next slide, you'll see the daughter of Anubis, the naughty fella did reproduce it too. Yeah, that's a spoiler right there, but
that is.
I think it's on our this web series. Yeah,
actually, it is.
This is also yeah. She's hybrid, so she does not need to bind with Dolomite stones. She does have a couple on her sword.
Is that one neck? On her neck? Yeah.
Yeah. That one is really special. So, but she doesn't get the bad part of the deal, that is gaining the primitive consciousness. She does have her own energy body. She doesn't need that. But when she appears in her own game, she won't be aware of this, of course, and we will make a story out of it. The right side we have Valen Weinefeld, who is Clyde's Clyde Alexander Weinfeld Jr.'s sister, and she's a Homo sapiens, and she's more grounded to reality. Doesn't have too much contact with that, at least in this form, because she's a maiden, so she does have content. But Valen, when she was alive, that's a huge spoiler. But when she was alive, she didn't care much about those type of content, and she just lived her life like a normal human will do in a more modern age.
Carrying a boombox around and
Yeah,
a Walkman
that's
in her pocket.
yeah, that's due to deliver which times which age she comes from and in which
Yeah.
age Tony Clyde happens. We won't state that it is the 80s, the 90s, or something like that,
But you
but
get
you
that
will get
idea.
yeah, you get the idea. That's the idea. And
Yeah.
she's extremely important too, though, because she's the link for Bunny Battle to Tony and Clyde.
Which is a massive
And
link.
she's as I mentioned, she's a Hell's maiden. She's a super powerful being now, and how she becomes one and etc. We will tell you in our web series and Bunny Battle game. It won't be mentioned in Tony and Clyde though.
But again, it doesn't need to be, does it? Because it's something that has the payoff later.
Yes, you will get a hint of what's going on, but if I
Yeah.
told you, I'll ruin
You'd
the
have to
whole
kill
game
me.
for you. For you, yeah, we will have to kill you and everybody who's listening. So
Yeah. Both of us.
yes,
All
so
two
I
of
don't know
us.
who they are.
All two people that
So,
will be listening.
so since we don't know who they are, it's better not to
Yeah.
spoil it. And finally, this is the being that I mentioned that Hellella created in the Kappa realm that is deeply connected to to hell. Kappa realm is a mini universe in the material realm that has a deep connection with Ella's realm, the creator's realm. And she wanted a breed to help her to balance the universe, but that was her excuse. She actually just wanted to be loved and praised as their own unique god, and she loved them so much. We did a taxonomy study about how they evolved and how many types of beings came out. Hellella reached out to the Syrians geneticists, Enki, Elohim, Enki, Elohim, and Genesis to create this being, and the Syrians had interest in that because in the locations she picked to be
home.
their home, there's a lot of dolomite to be exploited. So that's kind of the deal that happens, and the reason for the war will be disclosed in the game, so I won't spoil it now. And so basically that's it. And she was clearly expelled from their realm for a specific reason, and since she's so hurting by that and didn't appreciate it that much, she created her warriors, the maidens. She summons them actually. The maidens are created by a pact between one's conscience and Hellella, and it's made by a need of that consciousness that need to be fulfilled, like doing a pact with the devil, and your soul is hers. And and when she needs you to, you will have to go and do her biddings, like fighting a war in a different mini realm, mini universe, not your own. Like they are humans, and the maidens. All of the maidens are humans, and they are going to the Poridai, the Kappa universe, which has no humans. It does have Adamus though, that does the mining operations for the Syrians in the locations. You will learn, all players who play Battle Nemesis will learn this along the story mode. Here, our intention is to tell the story with introduction for each maiden and chat discussion with them and Hewella through telepathics. Since they're all possessed by a goddess, they can chat. So it will be like a smaller version of Last of Us, of the character walking around and bumping into something important and telling, oh, and then they have a chat with the goddess of death about what they saw and what's going on, and that will be what will be disclosure in the whole story to the end.
It's a cool way to do that without having just endless cutscenes.
Yeah,
You can have the
cutscenes
conversations happen without having to change location all the time.
Yeah, the cutscenes are quite short. Yeah, and and as I mentioned earlier about the guy with blood in his mouth,
Yeah.
who is a Pentalagus gigas. These guys started to eat the Adamus, so they are kind of the nastiest fellas in the realm. But we'll get into that in the game. Better to wait. Best to wait. These are the original R4R titles that are upcoming titles and released ones. Cruz Brothers were released on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. DAYNE actually became one of the kings. You were the kings of the combo, right?
I
Or
was the
king of the hill.
king of combos. What did I get? 100 and
This is something we never done here. Like the developers cannot do what this guy did. So he did a 160 something combo, 63, and he actually won official DCF T-shirt. And we cannot ship it yet because of the situation of the world. But keep tuned in our Twitter. We do some fun games there, and maybe you if you dethrone DAYNE, we can provide you a T-shirt. That's a challenge right there.
well,
It's official.
That's a pretty
It's
tall
official.
order, though. No one is going to outdo 163 odd hits in a combo. That's a fact.
Yeah, I think I cannot do that. And I was responsible for
162.
creating
It was a 162 hit combo.
Yeah, the art is right there. You can search it out, get the game, and try to beat him. We will ship you a T-shirt.
It was a fun competition.
Yeah,
very stressful.
So it's on now. It's on and it's indefinitely. So you
open challenge.
You can be dethroned at any point in time and space.
Well, if you and your team can't do it,
yeah. Well,
I'm
but
safe.
we didn't try that much too. Maybe we'll start trying, but we get the T-shirts anyway, so it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. You get all the T-shirts you want because you just print another one while I still wait for mine.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Yeah. And the game is coming to Nintendo Switch soon. We don't have a date yet, but we're excited about it. This is a recent approval we got. So for Nintendo Switch players, keep tuned that Cruz Brothers are coming.
I think it'll be really fun on the Switch. Having
played
played the shit out of it on the Xbox, I can see it being really fun on the Switch.
You can play 2 against 2, so it's perfect for Switch.
It is
mode that you can fight with your friends at home, drinking a pint of beer or something.
Yeah, but keeping the fighting in game, of course.
Yeah, fighting with your mates. That's how you say it, right?
That's how we say it over here. Yes.
So this game is more grounded to reality, and then quotes that grounded to reality thing.
Yeah.
The end result is supposed to be fun. It's already out on indiesport.net. So because it's extremely expensive and hard to port to the consoles, and this will be like a pre-alpha test just to see how you guys feel about the game and etc. Will be free on the platform, so you should check it out and give us some feedback. We will love that, even if it's a critic, especially if it is a critic, because it's true that we can improve the game. But I don't know. DAYNE can say it because he already played it. It's quite fun already, but it is in the early stages still.
I've played the hell out of it for the last week. I've played through it more than 20, 25 times, and I love it. It's
cool, man. That's cool.
I've given some feedback already, and as always, I've given you the honest, brutal truth if I
Yep.
found something that needed to be said. But it's fun. It's fun. The combat's cool. The art style's awesome. The music's amazing. The effect, as you call it, is great.
Yep.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So, but there's always something to improve. So don't hold back and show us
Yes.
that. And in this image, you see all the bosses you will be fighting in the game, and Tony and Clyde are not in that image. And I won't tell anything about those bosses because that will ruin the game story. But there's something really, really special in it, and I hope you guys enjoy it as much as we are enjoying it, creating it. So, yes, it will be a fun game to play with.
And we've only got to wait until next year to play it on all 3 consoles.
We want to publish the best possible version ever. So even though it's quite advanced, you can say that it's quite advanced, but we can improve a lot of things like animations and interactions. There are a couple of features that we are considering adding to the game, so we have to test them out. And there's also the cutscenes that are going to be similar to what you see on the trailers, the teasers.
Yeah.
And we want to keep it at least that quality. So there's a lot of work to be done. And as I mentioned in the beginning, it's making games is a huge project, man. So that's why some people that want to have a life, because I have none. I only make games.
The
And that's
DCFU
it.
is your life.
Yeah. And you are wise if you do that.
Well, it's off to a good start already, so far round.
And this is the art for Bunny Battle Nemesis. In the middle, we have the goddess of death, Helella, and around her, the maidens. As you can see, there's Clyde's sister. In the left, there's Kalila, who is daughter of Anubis. So she's not actually human; she's a hybrid, half alien, half Adamas. And in the right corner, we have Yasmin and Amanda. Those names are both from my nieces. Valen is also two. I have a niece that is named Valentina. But Kalila is not. Kalila is just that it had to make sense. So I have another niece that is Bettina, so she's out of the maiden squad. And it's coming for PS4 and Switch officially, and we're working to get it on Xbox One too. So we hopefully we get there.
Well, I've played a little bit of this one too, haven't I?
Yeah, but the thing is with that version is that we only have the enemies that supposed to appear in very specific occasions, and we made him first because he were easier to make.
Okay,
And then
so it's sort of out of context, that demo.
Kind of, because you play with Yasmin and she shoots straight because she's shooting at the Leporidae that's supposed to be there, and they're not, up to this point they're not yet. And the other guys, you must stun to get them in the ground because they're flying robots, right?
Yes.
So it makes look a little bit awkward, but I think like an overall, I don't know. I can state that it's a good game. You must say if it is shitty or not.
I don't think it. I definitely don't think it's shitty. It's an early build, so it's subject to a lot of change on your end, I imagine. And like you've just said, there's the enemy is sort of out of context in that demo.
Yeah, it's completely out of context.
Yeah.
But
no, it's fun. Again, like Cruz Brothers and Tony and Clyde, it's got different mechanics and different gameplay and different art style. It's unique, just like each of them.
Yeah. As I said in the beginning, the proposal to have a unified universe is not to make
the same game a million times.
The same game a million times. No, not at all. Actually, we want to make them really unique, different, completely different. So we deliver the best, as I mentioned, as I always say, the best possible with the resources we have. That's the mindset we have here. And and there's a funny story about this game too, about creating the all the content in as a team. When Matt was trying the game out, we didn't have added a feature that you can summon Hell Ella and gain more powerful moves and etc. Feature that we call Conjuring. Yes, it's in homage of that movie, that horror movie. Do you know
Yes, yes,
Conjuring
I love it.
1, 2? Yeah,
I love it.
yeah. Glauco and Isadora loves this movie, so that's why we named it, because we watch it a bunch of times in those death camps.
It's a great
So
movie.
how the Conjuring move starts. So to explain to your audience, it's like when you turn it on, the goddess of death appear, and every strike you do, it will be stronger, and you can like crawl or do some acrobacies over the obstacles like Assassin's Creed. Of course, in an indie level, please, guy, bear with us in an indie level. But and they will use Dolomite Stone, so you have a bar with 3 Dolomite Stone, and if you drain it out, it will only make it will give you like a timer to
Replenish it.
restore. Yeah, so it's something you can use all during all the games. So every character has 2 modes, like a regular mode of his own skills and more realistic skills. For instance, Yasmin has a lot of guns and etc. And when you trigger the conjuring, you become much more powerful, stronger. But it does cost you the conjuring bar, and each stage starts with 3 Dolomites, and if you drain them out, you'll be like you have to wait to restore it, the power, right? So
Yeah.
the way this was born was by Matt testing the game when this didn't wasn't implemented yet, and we kept it as a fighting game, like double tap the walking button and you gain a dash, right?
Yeah.
And one of his feedbacks when our team tests the games, they send us a report of a bunch of feedbacks, same as you did when you tested. Dane is a great friend from our company, because he played the game and he sent us extremely professional feedback. That was incredible, man.
I had to do my best. Had to look legit.
Yeah,
And there was
and they
nothing.
did a lot.
There was nothing dramatic in there, but I just made sure to point out every little thing that I thought might be
No,
helpful
yeah,
for you to hear.
yeah, but this is really important, man, to have the critics and the feedbacks from the players.
Because if I was to
Even
just tell
those
you it
guys,
was perfect, I'd be ruining my
yeah,
own experience on all these other ones.
yes. There's that movie about Whiplash. Have you seen that?
Whiplash for me, I think
Whiplash.
of Iron Man 2. Mickey Rourke.
This will be a major spoiler, but it's a good line. In Whiplash, the story is basically a musician who wants to be great, and there's a maestro who is also a teacher in his college school, and he's a tough guy that makes people cry and etc. Because he wants to pull things out of people to give them their best, right? So there's a line in the end that he says to the musician, that the worst sentence in language is "good job." If you tell someone that, like, if I shown you the game and you just said to me, "Oh, good job," okay, I did a good job. I have to do nothing else. But you didn't. You said it is cool. You liked it. It seems, but you gave us a lot of feedback, right?
Yeah.
And it's through that feedback that we have we are able to evolve the game and the project. The thing is that humans don't like to be criticized. It's bad. It's a bad feeling. But it's part of our job as developers to hear you out and to extract something out of it. For instance, when we first released Cruz Brothers in 2018, we got a massive hate on the game mechanics, because that audience is really wants compared us to Mortal Kombat, and we don't have $200 million, folks. So sorry, but
Yeah.
back then it was like me doing the mechanics and programming the game, which is the core of the fighting game. So like it was literally one guy doing that, and I had to coordinate the whole thing, like the team doing the storytelling and the voiceover recordings, and there were too much for one person to handle. It wasn't like today that we are well organized and there's a really engaged team. Some of them worked back then. Match actually illustrated some of the Cruz Brothers storytelling. But what I mean is, we were so tired of the porting, especially porting for consoles is hell, man. So we were so tired that we had to release it as it were, and through that critics that were extremely heavy. I had a headache for like 2 days. I had like the worst week. I thought of giving up, man. It's a heavy process to deal with. Like we've been working on that game for 3 years, and the first video I saw was a guy demolishing it. It was
Just ripping
insane.
it to shreds.
No, he demolished everything. He hated everything. He hated us. He hated my family.
That
He
would be
wanted us dead. No,
that would be so
not
brutal.
that far. Not that far,
Yeah,
but that's how
that's
I
how it
felt. Like,
felt. Yeah.
yeah, damn, man. And then I made some live streams with a Brazilian guy, and he started saying so much shit, like saying, "Oh, boxers don't move like that," and I thought, like, man, I practiced boxing for 10 years. They fucking move like that.
Yeah.
And but I was so
Defensive.
tired, yeah, because he from the first critic video, and this guy, there was a bunch of those, and there were some guys that compared us to Shaq Fu, a
Oh
prior fighting
yeah,
game
yeah,
with Shaquille O'Neal, right?
yeah.
And, and they call us Cruz Fu. You should search on Google, you find Cruz. But guys, this is a different version, and I'm getting to the point of where everything changes and why this is so important. It was hard to have those experiences. It's not easy to have them today, but it's easier than it was then, because like I'm already
You're a little
around
conditioned
five.
to it.
Yeah, I'm around 5 or 6 years working in this, and we do this every day. Like, just to finish the point, those critics made us do the Combat School Edition, which is the version completely different. It's not yet a Mortal Kombat. Bear with us, but it's good enough that Dane can do a 163 hits combo. Like,
That's
I
right.
think that I think that's a cool feature for a fighting game.
It is
So,
definitely.
and it is an indie fighting game. It was made with so much love, man. It was like our first game to consoles. You can imagine how much we got into it. So yeah, you get your skin more thick to the critics, and I can throw an example that happened last month or so, that a guy came and pressured the game, but his video was actually funny. If it wasn't our game, I would be laughing all the time. And I told him that in the comments, and I'm like, "Oh man, sorry," something like that, like, "Sorry that you don't like it, but you made a quite cool video. Congrats." And we ended up doing a podcast, and he was actually the one who gave us a hint about maybe we were selling the game wrong in the store, about by saying it is a boxing game, and it is more than that. It does have a lot of content that go beyond boxing.
Yeah.
It's grounded in boxing, but as we spoke for the past 2 hours, this content is embedded in that game. So we are making a new cover, and we made a new synopsis for the game,
To
and we
embrace
will.
the supernatural side of it all.
Yes, maybe. I don't remember the text quite well, but it's like it's better. It's better said that it isn't just a boxing game.
Yeah.
Actually, we don't mention it boxing at any point
Yeah.
in that text. You will see in the cover because there's a guy with gloves, and there's a guy with
yeah.
you saw
Yeah,
the
that was awesome.
the sketch. Yeah, it's gonna
Yeah,
be awesome. That guy
it looks
is
really good.
And the other Andre in the company is doing that. Andre Lazari, he's really good. They both are. I think I like to believe everyone in our team is really good at what they're doing. So at least trying to improve every day, and that's what it counts. Because
Yeah.
you can learn stuff, but to learn is painful. To do the work is painful. To handle the critics is painful. It's all painful, just like any other job. But it's very very cool to be creating fantastical worlds with mythology and etc. So there's a good side and a bad side, same as every job. But maybe the intensity is really, 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 really high. So that's that's why people get some mental issues like anxiety issues. I had that. I'm working on it up to this day. I'm way better now, but still in here. But that's part of the usually indies that go on with the work with the company and have similar stories about having you can see that in the indie game movie, right?
Yeah.
Do you know
Yeah, that's a good
that? Yeah.
movie.
And I find funny because people when back in the day when I found out about being able to do your own game to consoles at home, I also find that movie. It was the same time that movie were on Netflix here in Brazil, and I watched it like for 1,000 times. I don't know how many times, man, but I watched it so much, and I thought, man, I want to leave that. Yeah, that's it. That's what I want. And the guys are always talking about suffering and pain and having to go a bathtub until they calm down. And when people tell me like, "Oh, that movie is heavy, right?" and I think, "No, it's wonderful." What are you saying? Are you crazy?
Because you can relate to it.
Yeah, but I didn't even got started back then. It was like I was seeing where I was getting at, and I was thinking, "Oh yeah, that's what I want.
That's where
I
you
want
want
to
to
be in
be.
that pain. I want to be in that pain right there and make some games, man. That's what I want." And I believe everybody in the team has this knowledge, at least. As I mentioned it, Glauco's wife, my associate Isadora, just crossed over to the dark side, so she's now one of us. You know what I mean?
She's going fully crazy.
Yes, she got the black belt like in the middle of the year, and now she's gone fully crazy. She's gonna be mad at me by saying this, but yeah, that happened. Deal with it. And every content we create that is like too heavy and stuff, it's her idea. So
Yeah. Good. That's good. Crazy is good.
yeah. She goes beyond what's human capable to create nasty stuff. So sorry, Isabel, I had to bring this up to everybody. And yeah, so this is the logo for the web series that is released on YouTube. If you want to check this out in a different way, you can go there and search for. There's a playlist especially separated for it. It's the DCFU Explained Season 1. We hope to do more of those. It's explained in a way easier way. We don't get into those complex parts of the universe. We go like in the, let's say we did it something more commercial and friendly to everyone to get it. So
It's sort of
if
a
you're interested,
more friendly and accessible, bite-sized version of what we've just gone through.
yes,
They're
yes,
short, they're fun, they explain a bit of the mythology.
yes, that's it. In an easier way to understand, it shows some other beings like Mayhems. Mayhems are in Cruz Brothers. If you want to know about them, it's episode 5 or 6. I don't recall it. It's all about. It's so uniquely about them.
Well worth a watch, and we'll check the link down below as well.
Oh, cool,
Even though
man.
it's there
Thank
on
you.
stream, but we'll check a direct link to that playlist because it's definitely worth checking out to find out some more about the mythology and the the other characters and hints of things to come?
Yes, yes, yes. And the content for the season one, it relates either to Cruz Brothers or Bunny Nemesis or Tony and Clyde. So we're not going beyond that. Well, season two for the DCFU explained, we hope to do it and to explain further more about the universe. But we are also wanting to create a story, a series named DCFU Stories to tell the crossover stories such as Clyde and his sister and how that happened, like why he's a thug and she's a maiden, and etc.
So to explain some more of the story, but outside of the actual games.
Yes, yes, yes. Like it's called transmedia approach, right? I don't know if in English it's that.
No, I know what you're talking about. That's awesome.
Yes, it's an extra element. Like you play the game, you liked it, and you see that some hints about having something more.
Yeah.
You go to our YouTube page or website, you get redirected to the current released season. Up to this point, we are in the season one for the DCFU Explain It, but we will do more when we get closer to Tony and Clyde's release. That's the goal, to release the first DCFU stories. It will be about, I think it will be about Valentina and how she became a maiden, etc. Yeah, cool, man. Hope you all enjoy it and have much fun as we do creating those things. Even though I said that there's a lot of pain in this business, but usually I'm really excited to work when it's so satisfying to work with the games. It's really cool, but you have to really want to, because it will demand a whole amount of energy and time from your life. Dane?
Yeah, I'm not dead.
Yeah.
I was.
What?
I was
Were you crying, man?
I was not crying. I promise you, I was not crying or scouting the nearest bridge. I was, as you were saying that, I realized this is the last panel, and I trying to think of a little segue into the outro for you, but I sat there and said nothing. I sat there and said nothing.
Yeah, and I thought like we finished with a sad tone, right? Well, that's exactly what we were aiming for in our games.
Yeah.
That you become sad,
Yeah.
and you feel the pain, just like the Joker movie. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Demands your
Yes.
life, and it's rewarding at the end of it all, despite the pain and brutal feedback.
Yeah, well, I have to explain that better. The way I will say this now, as I did it as personal experience, because one thing people have to understand when they are starting to make a game, unless they're doing it just for fun or to as a hobby, but if they're starting a game to do it as a business, they are starting a business. That's the deal. You are starting a business. You're not only starting a game, you're starting a company. So you're becoming an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
And being an entrepreneur in any area, it's hard enough. So you should throw on top of that the amount of effort you have to make a game project to be concluded. It's hell on earth, man. It's
Yeah, especially when you're on your own.
Yeah, at least in the beginning. For a start, yes. And especially that your whole family does not understand what you're doing, because they're thinking that they think that you're doing playing cartoon all day and doing funny draws, and that wasn't it at all.
Yeah.
But that was part of the fuel, like to show them that you're wrong. This is a business, you fuckers.
Yeah, and that you can do it.
Yeah, but there's a saying that you should if you want to blame people for the wrongings in your life, you should blame them for the good ones too. So in that case, since they didn't believe at me at first, now they're super supportive,
Yeah.
But since they didn't, and it's a struggle to deal with this because I need that hate. They made me feel like that's the good part of the thing. It made me push myself much more than I would. I probably if they were supportive from the beginning. This is my own experience, but the thing is that if I'm gonna blame them for not supporting me, I have to thank them for giving me jet fuel to get where we are at today.
To
That's
motivate
what I
you
mean.
to succeed.
Yeah. So yeah, bunch of thanks for that. All that was applied to make Cruz Brothers and Bunny Battle Arena. I think that's why they're all violent. There were too much going on in my mind.
You're letting out those frustrations
Yeah.
of the process. Well,
All right.
we need to.
We,
We've talked for just over 2 hours now on this.
yeah, I think it's a good amount for a podcast, right?
We've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah. Probably you're gonna cut something. You're gonna end up with 2 hours, I guess.
Yeah, no matter what we do, we're going to sit around 2 hours, which is fine.
Yeah, great.
And we'll link everything below, of course.
Oh, great. Thank you, man.
But
So
I suppose we need to come up with a quick little outro. I also like how you put this at the end because it's the perfect ending. It's like if you want more, not just in the game, but even from this, go here to these videos.
oh yeah. That's why I changed it. Yes.
It's very clever.
Yes, I have to be smart to sell the stuff, right?
You do. You do.
The skull of death isn't too much of a good approach for everyone.
No, it might be my favorite image, but this is a much better ending slide.
Me too.
Well, thank you, Andre, for diving incredibly deep into this multi-layered universe that you're creating.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having us here, and it was a pleasure to display all the content and try to explain the complex ones because they're really complex. And it was really fun to chat. So
I think
we talk soon.
We definitely will.
Yeah, behind the cameras.
Behind the cameras, yes. But while the camera's still on, so to speak, I have to say this presentation is fucking awesome.
Oh man, great!
I'm
happy that you liked it. Yeah,
I really appreciate the effort you've put in to tailor make this 20-odd slides to try and explain the madness that you've created.
Yeah, it's a good word for it, madness. But we will make sense of it slowly, slower pace through the games, not throwing it at once, right? So
it really is a joke taken very far.
Yeah, maybe so. Very far.
Things were much simpler with a dude, a pigeon, a laser gun, and some herbs, as you put it.
Yeah. No, this is actually marijuana.
Yes, I was trying to use your code word you used at the start.
Oh, but we needed a great finish, right?
We did. Ending. We did, and we got there. I think we definitely got there.
But we better not say what the guy on the right took because look at his eyes. He's
tripping. He's off.
He's tripping. Yeah.
He's been under some bridges.
Maybe he saw this presentation and he was like, what
yeah. Well, thank you again for this. It's been excellent.
Thank you, man. It was really fun.
It was, and we'll have to do something again soon.
Yeah, we certainly will. I will keep bothering you with requesting feedbacks for the demo since I played it already.
Yes, and I will bombard you with feedback, as should everyone else, after August 4 when it's available on indieexpo.net.
Yes, please, everyone. If you hate the game, tell us. If you love the game, tell us. And if you liked it and have critics, throw it all up, man. We need that.
But at least play it. Jump on. It's free. Check it out.
Yeah, we hope you all have fun with it. And yeah.
All right.
All right, man. Thank you. It's a good ending talking about weed.
I think
we finished it.
Oh, we did.
On the highest.
On the highest of notes. We couldn't have ended any higher if we tried.
Oh no, there's a way we can end this higher, but I don't do that.
Yeah.